Hey, what's happening, guys? Dan the Arrow here with an options in play video update. So, Nike, one of the big reports of the week, right? We are lucky enough to have a few interesting names reporting this week. I feel like the past couple weeks, actually, maybe not the busiest on the scheduled news front, but you had like a few big names here and there, enough to keep our appetite satiated until earnings season gets going in a couple of weeks, right? Nike though, definitely one of the big names, and didn't get we didn't have the time to really like go over the setup too in depth at our recent option session. So I felt like I wanted to just talk about it, maybe just a little bit more. Obviously, I covered it in the options and play earnings on the radar video, but just maybe go over it just a little bit more in depth. Talk about estimates, what they're looking for, maybe what peers have done too. Okay. So first things first, Nike expectations are for 71 cents on the bottom line, so 71 cents in earnings on about 10.45 billion in sales. All right, and the last time they reported, so at the end of June on the 27th, all right, they actually missed. So they missed on the bottom line. Revenues were mostly in line. You can see though that the stock hasn't really it didn't really impact the stock much. And what's interesting is that it's really just kind of pushing up into the top of like this resistance range, right? So um, after coming off a miss, it's really responded pretty well, and headed into earnings, it's right at the top of 5, 6, 7 month resistance range, and it's one of the more interesting setups on Nike, at least from my perspective, because I like when things are at like critical areas of resistance, critical areas of support. It just adds to the element of potential, right? When a company reports, right? I always talk about those earnings combo moves and key resistance, key support, tight consolidations. Those all can contribute to like that earnings combo move where you get the earnings price to move plus the technical move on top of it. And Nike seems to be like a great candidate for that. Now, that being said, the problem is that Nike's coming off actually I would make the argument like two lackluster quarters in a row. So it got hit pretty hard back in the March print here, right? And then they actually missed on the June print. So not a great print in March. Got actually hit on the they actually missed on the June print, and now they're right at their 52-week high. And you know that there's going to be some talk of China trade tariffs, right? I mean, it's they produce a lot of stuff in China. They're going to be impacted. They're one of those names that whenever we have some sort of trade headline, they're one of the ones that pops or drops the fastest. So it's going to be in the press release. I know they're going to talk about it, and it's just whether or not it's material enough to really change people's mind or maybe impact the numbers. Um, so I'm not going to get in. I'm not a financial analyst. I'm not going to get into that. I'm a trader, and what I see is maybe a stock that's set up slightly more from a risk reward perspective to the downside. All right, so they're pricing in about 450 to 475. It only moved about 2 points back in June. It was really kind of like a muted response. Now, um, what you'll notice though is that it was basically at like the same level in March and it dropped for over 6 points. So the pricing in 4.5, 475, moved 2 last time, moved 6 the time before that, and that's actually kind of something that's Nike has a history of. So it's not an every single quarter mover. It seems to be more like every other quarter, maybe every 3 quarters you get a big move. So Nike's pushing up into the top of resistance. Last quarter didn't move much. Quarter before that was about 6. As much as like Lulu had a good number, um, I feel like Lulu not in the same class, right? Under Armour got hit real hard, surprising miss. Foot Locker, I mean, you can make the argument that Nike's actually taking some of Foot Locker's business away, right? Going for like direct to consumer. So Foot Locker, but that they're a big retailer of Nike apparel. that got hit. Dick's didn't have a particularly good quarter, so it seems like some of like the apparel names, not great signs for Nike. They're coming off a couple of weak quarters in a row, pushing up into resistance. I feel like there's still a potential for a pent up breakout if the number's good. So like you can't dismiss the upside there. But I'd say that I feel like I'd prefer to structure the trade potentially more with like more risk to the downside. So maybe like a staggered strangle, even where maybe like shift the risk more to the downside because it seems like if the number is not great, like the range has held true several times. And basically each time it fails in the high 80s here, it tends to roll down at least into like the low 80s, right? A couple times into like the high 70s. So if you respect the range and you say that if it is weak and it rolls off the top here, 4.5 points, 475 was priced in. A move into like the low 80s, it's possibly 6, 7 points, right? So I'm kind of thinking like a staggered strangle, maybe favor the downside, but maybe have some sort of like small bet on the upside. Maybe like push it out like a little bit to a longer time frame and say like pent up breakout, a measured move breakout through 6, 7 month resistance probably puts us into the mid 90s. So maybe something lower debit, longer time frame, and something in like the mid 90s just in case it is good. It does break out because there could be a pretty nice measured move into like like the mid 90s area. All right. So again, just going over the setup real quick. We didn't get around to talking about it, so I just wanted to spend a few more minutes. So you got the estimates, you got the expectations, you got the price to move, and now you see what I'm looking at. All right. So questions, comments. I'd love to hear from you guys. Please don't hesitate to reach out. If you like these videos, please follow up with the link in the description for more trade ideas or just maybe even more information on options in play. Have a wonderful night. Best of luck if you're playing Nike, and I'll talk to you all soon.